Hey, Lisa Kirschner here with Flair Interactive, and today I'll be talking to you about how to get more traffic, leads, and conversions, especially in this down economy that we're all facing right now. I know it's really difficult for business owners and digital marketers to feel like you can make some progress, so I'll share some tips with you today about how to do that. So a little bit about me. I am the founder and managing director of Flair Interactive. I'm a writer and editor, and I've published more than 500 articles and thousands of blog posts, and more digital content than I can count. I've been published in the Chicago Tribune, TribLocal, Patch, Business.com, eHow, Office.com, and numerous other websites and publications. I started Flair back in 1995 when I was employed full-time at a couple of web agencies here in downtown Chicago, and transitioned to Flair full-time in 2002. And at that point, the business grew really steadily up to about 1.2 million in the first 18 months. I hold multiple certifications in various digital marketing topics, as you can see here. And as I said, my agency is here in the Chicago area. We are a certified HubSpot partner agency, digital marketer certified partner, and a certified Google partner. And we help our clients with various digital marketing tasks. We're a full service digital marketing agency specializing in inbound. And what that means is that we help our customers get clients to come, and customers and prospects to come to them, instead of, kind of making our customers go out and do it kind of the old way. So I'll talk a little bit more about that today. And we have a few other sessions by Flair folks coming up later in the day and in one of the bonus sessions. So we'll talk more about that then as well. You can see here we're proficient in a number of different technologies. And as you can also see here, we've got quite a large client roster, former clients, current clients, and we've worked with some real big companies, but we've also worked with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses. So I'm going to provide some tips today for, kind of multiple types of businesses, multiple sizes of businesses, multiple verticals and things like that. So wherever you fall in that landscape, you should walk away with some good practical tips here. And I want to talk a little bit about why we're doing this summit. So a few months ago, we decided that we wanted to help some of our clients who were struggling. We were hearing from some of our clients that they were getting their marketing budget slashed. Their customers virtually disappeared overnight. And, everyone was still kind of shell-shocked about, really how to respond to COVID and what to do about this. And we started writing some blog posts called Surviving COVID-19, just geared towards business owners and digital marketers. And it actually was so popular that we decided to turn it into a summit and bring in some outside speakers who could also share their expertise. So for those of you who've been in business for a long time or who've been in marketing for a long time, you know that, many times a lot of folks think that, companies can, and products and services can, kind of see success overnight, and that it's a, kind of an uphill battle, but a pretty straight line. And, oftentimes it looks like those things happen very quickly overnight, when in fact, behind the scenes, whether you're a business owner or a digital marketer, you know that it's very rarely a straight line like that. It's often, kind of ups and downs, kind of reversing course, pivoting, changing direction, and, lots and lots of challenges and pain points that, people on the outside can't really necessarily see. So you might hear about someone who's had a really successful business or a really successful marketing campaign, and you might not kind of be privy to what it took to get there, and kind of the challenges that they faced. So for me, one of my primary drivers for wanting to succeed in my business and in life is my family. So as you can see here, I am a mom of 2 teens, and I've been married for 20 years this year. This is in one of our happy places. This is in Minnesota, where my husband and I have both been going since we were about 5 years old. And thankfully, both of our kids love it up there too. So this is my, kind of what gets me up in the morning and what keeps me going on those, some of those harder days, especially for you business owners out there. Some of those days where you're thinking, why am I doing this? This is too hard. I'm not cut out for this. Everyone else can do this so easily, and it's really difficult for me. I want to make sure that you all realize that that's really the case for all of us, you know, business owners, entrepreneurs, digital marketers, especially when you're faced with, you know, very high demands in terms of getting results, but very few resources. You might not have, you know, necessarily a big team, or you might have your team, you know, your team size might have maybe shrank a little bit recently. You might not have the budget that you want to have. And, you know, being in business for 20 years, I've faced all of those things. You know, my business has lasted through 9/11. My business lasted through the recession in 2008, 2009. You know, it's lasted through some, you know, personal struggles that all of us face here and then. And I just want to make sure that you realize that these things will happen. They're going to happen. You know, we're all going to get through them. And I think one of the most important things that's kept me going over the years during those times is focus. And what I want to do today is kind of cut through some of the, you know, kind of the drama, the things you're hearing on the news, the things that you're being told by other people, and really just give you some practical tips and advice on specifically ways that you can get through this, whatever the case may be in your situation right now. So as you know, our industry is kind of a mess right now. You know, it's everyone who had digital marketing plans or traditional marketing plans at the beginning of this year kind of got those thrown out of the water, you know, just completely ground to a halt, or, you know, just turned upside down. So like I said a minute ago, this is not the time to put your head in the sand. There's a great quote here by the CEO of Cengage, and he talks about that, you know, this is not the time where you want to be paralyzed. This is not the time where you want to be stagnant. This is not the time where you want to say, I'm going to wait and see how things go. I'm going to wait and see when my industry turns around, or when my, you know, customers start calling me again. This is actually the time when you need to adapt. You need to change your plan, and very, very quickly. So as far as that goes, there's a few different categories that most companies fall into when facing COVID. And, you know, this is not just true for marketing, but this is also true for just business in general right now. The first category is folks who are in survival mode. And by the way, this can also apply to employees. So if you're an employee of a company, you might be in kind of one of these three modes right now too yourself, personally and professionally in your career. So whether you're thinking about your business or yourself, you're probably falling into a category of either being in survival mode, just kind of trying to make it through every day, keep the lights on, maybe keep your job. You might be in maintenance mode, where you're kind of doing okay. You know, maybe you got hit a little bit, but no big losses. You know, your revenue's fairly steady considering everything going on, but you're not really seeing a lot of growth or, you know, huge successes. And finally, there are some folks who are actually in growth mode right now, both for businesses and, you know, personally. Some companies are actually doing better than they were before COVID. Generally, this might happen to specific industries. So for example, you know, medical businesses are doing a little bit better right now. You know, there are a couple of industries that are doing well. Any company that's making PPEs or anything like that generally is doing maybe better than they were before. So as far as digital marketing or traditional marketing budgets go, we are seeing that those cutbacks or freezes are obviously worse in some industries than other, you know, restaurants, airlines, travel, but also are affecting specific tactics more than other. And by tactics, I mean the things that we as marketers do, which could be things like trade shows. It could be things like paid search, SEO, creating premium content. You know, there's all different tactics that we can use as digital marketers. And we are seeing some trends across the board with our clients in terms of some being hit harder than others. So for example, we see that a lot of our clients who used to do a lot of live events in person, either, you know, workshops, or maybe they go to trade shows, or actually sponsor trade shows. Obviously, those have been frozen or eliminated for the most part. Some of those folks, we're actually seeing several of our bigger clients and smaller clients who have really embraced online events in lieu of that. And I mean, we're even doing that with this summit. We occasionally do workshops in person, and we do speak at trade shows and conferences. So this is a really good example of something that you could do to kind of replace some of those tactics that you were doing before. One last point here is that, as we all know, this has been talked about quite a bit. COVID is really not only changing the way that we live and the way that we do business, but it's also changing the way that we market and sell and interact with others, and it will likely continue to do that, probably permanently in some case. Just little things like working from home, and the way that we manage people, and the way that we interact with colleagues, and the way that we interact with customers. The types of changes we've seen here in such an incredibly rapid time period will be long lasting, and we expect that it will disrupt virtually every industry out there, and in some cases in a good way. There are some things that are happening now where companies are kind of taking a step back and saying, well, wait a minute, this isn't that bad. This is something that we kind of feared, and it's actually working out pretty well, and we might even be able to save some money if we keep doing some of these things. On that note, stay tuned for Jody Thompson's session later today about changing company culture, and it's specifically about that. If you're maybe the president of a company, you are kind of trying to strategically plan out, how do we re-immerse our employees back into a traditional workforce, and especially when we don't even know when that will be. So listen into her session about that. She's got some really good tips on that. Tim Podorf also will be talking about working from home and how to do that safely. He's an expert in safety and ergonomics. So he'll be talking about some things that some of us have never really had to think about before. I do work from home fairly often. I am actually at home right now with a green screen behind me and a picture of our office in back of me. But I kind of split my time between the office and home normally. But, working from home brings some new challenges to all of us. Just things like, my back is hurting so much. Why is my neck hurting? How am I going to balance working from home with, family responsibilities? Thankfully my kids are older. It doesn't affect me quite as much. But I know lots of folks who have young kids, little kids at home, who are still trying to work a full-time job. So Tim will be talking about some of those topics. One thing I want you all to remember when you're thinking about your strategy, the most important thing that you can keep in mind, if there's one thing you take away from this summit today, it is do not stop. That is the absolute worst thing that you can do for for any kind of marketing right now. Don't stop marketing, don't stop selling, don't stop planning for growth, because, as you can see on the slide here, you might stop, but your competitors will not. So we see time and time again that the companies that are agile, that are flexible, that pivot and respond and are comfortable adapting are the ones that succeed. And I want to share a story. I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but there's a story about a guy, an older guy, who sells hot dogs on the side of the road. Can't see very well, so he doesn't really watch TV or read the newspaper. He can't hear very well, so he doesn't really listen to the radio. And he goes out every day, holds a sign at the edge of the road, trying to sell his hot dogs. Business is fantastic. He goes out and gets a new oven. He goes out and gets a new cart. He goes out and invests in some new signs, and he keeps, hitting the pavement and doing that every day. His son comes home from college. He's got an MBA, and he says, "Dad, what are you doing? I don't think you should be wasting so much time and energy going out doing this every day. Didn't you hear there's a recession? I think you need to kind of, cut back a little bit, save some money." And his dad says, "Oh, okay, well, my son's really smart. He went to college. I didn't even go to college, so he must know what he's talking about." So the next morning he wakes up a little bit later. He doesn't go out by the street and hold up his sign anymore. He just thinks, well, things are hard for everyone right now. So I think I better kind of, wait and see what'll happen. And he comes home from work that night and tells his son, you were right. There were no customers today. I think I better, maybe stop and maybe rethink my business because it sounds like we're at a pretty big depression right now. And I don't know if it's going to come back. Now, nothing changed in that day as far as his external environment. The same amount of people drove by or walked by. The same amount of opportunities presented themselves to him. But look at the way he handled it. The things he was doing before that weren't that difficult, weren't that expensive, but were very effective. And he stopped doing those things, and lo and behold, his business started to suffer. So be careful that you don't fall into that trap. Now, by all means, I'm not saying that if your revenue has really decreased or you're really, you don't have as many resources as you had before, I'm not implying that you should be doing the same exact things that you've always done, but that's what we'll talk about today. We can talk about some ways you can pivot, and some of the other speakers will also be doing the same. So I want to ask you a really important question. Who are you listening to right now? Are you listening to the news, maybe some family members, industry analysts who are projecting what will happen in your industry, maybe your own gut? How about the most important thing, your customers? During this last 2 or 3 months, how many of you have reached out to your customers, not to sell them something, but to ask how they're doing, to see what problems they're experiencing, to see what their pain points are, and most importantly, to ask how you can help? So I have a list of things here. In the interest of time, we're kind of trying to keep these sessions fairly short, so I'm not going to read all of these verbatim. I will share this deck afterwards, so you can kind of think through this in a little bit more detail later. But one of the most important things you want to do for successful digital marketing is identify your prospects' challenges, so that their pain points. What is keeping them up at night? What are the problems that they're experiencing? And then you want to identify the solutions that you provide that can solve those problems for them. To take it a step further, we're going to talk a little bit later today, both in this session and Joanna's session about content later. We're going to talk about how you can take that a step further and map your content, your offerings, your products to those specific pain points. And Joanna will actually even be sharing a really fabulous exercise that we use with our clients called 30 blog post ideas in 30 minutes. And generally, you can actually get that done in less than 30 minutes. Usually we can knock it out in about 15 or 20. But it's just a really interesting, fun, and easy way to kind of get your head in your customer's mindset and think about how you can help them. And it will really help you shape your strategy and your content. So again, and actually Alan Langer will also be reiterating this in his next session about sales, but look at this key point at the bottom here. If you are not listening and helping, you're not using modern marketing and sales techniques. And again, I'll share this deck later, so we're not going to walk through all of these here, but I've shared some ideas for how you can listen better and how you can help people more, depending upon what mode you're in. So if you're in survival mode, here are some things you can do. If you're in maintenance mode, here are some things you can do. And if you're in growth mode, here are some things that you can do. These are very specific, concrete examples of ways that you can take a step back from your hard selling and your panic and your outbound techniques and really kind of reassess, what are my customers doing? What are my prospects doing? What problems are they facing that I can help them solve? And I'll give you an example. If someone's facing a challenge or a problem, 9 times out of 10, nowadays with modern marketing, where are they going to go? They're going to go online. They're going to use a search engine. They're going to type that term or that phrase or that question into a search engine. So by thinking about it this way, you can position yourself to be in the forefront when they're looking for a specific solution. So they're not going to be looking for your product. They might not even know your company's name. So they're not going to be typing those into a search engine. They will, however, be typing maybe, the issue that they're having, the solution that they're seeking. And what you want to do is tie your marketing to that. And then it'll help the leads and, the traffic and the leads and the conversions come to you instead of the other way around. So this next part, it might be a little bit of a recap for some of you, especially those of you who've been in digital marketing for a while, but I do think it's really important to kind of set as a baseline for other folks. So several years ago, it used to be that everyone kind of looked at marketing and sales in this, if you look at this pyramid or upside down funnel, here on the left, you'll see that, the thought was you pull traffic and leads into this funnel through marketing. After marketing captures their attention and then, ideally captures their information, their name, their email address, their phone number, those leads are then qualified, and the qualified ones are the ones that sales focuses on. So sales will, qualify the leads, they'll kind of talk to those leads, learn a little bit more about them, and then work on closing those deals. And once those deals are closed, the thought was that, what comes out the bottom of the funnel are customers. And, that still is one way of looking at it. A more modern way of looking at it is by using what's called the flywheel. And this is a HubSpot term. Both of these, I got both of these graphics from HubSpot. We are a HubSpot partner. So the better way to look at it now is that you want your customers to really be the hub of everything that you do. They should be kind of the cog of the wheel, the center of your universe. So your marketing, your sales, your service, all of that should revolve around your customers, because happy customers, prospects who feel like you're speaking directly to them and can help you solve their problem, they should be the center of everything that you do. Another thing to keep in mind about modern marketing is that it must be integrated. So it's not just about using a single tactic. Get it out of your mind that you should blog and that will solve all of your issues. It's not really the best way to look at it, because what you want to do, you could certainly use the blog as the foundation of your marketing program. That's in fact what I recommend to people. Your blog should be your foundation. That's where you can share helpful tips, downloadable, premium content offers, tip sheets, handouts. You can post about case studies, about webinars, about all of those things that you should be doing. But once it's on your blog, you can then use that as kind of the foundation and share that blog post in multiple other areas. So on social media, in, online forums, lots of other places. And you can see here we've got SEO, content, and social media as being sort of the three parts of modern marketing that should be integrated. They should really all work together. You need to have a cohesive plan, kind of a strategic plan and a tactical plan that utilizes all of these different tactics and allows them to feed off of each other. So if you do work in one of these channels, you can often repurpose that for one of the other channels. So, or even, for different content types. So for example, if you write a blog post about something, you could repurpose that into an infographic. If you have a video that you've posted in your podcast or something, then you can obviously share that in your blog and on social media and other channels. The other really important concept that you need to be aware of is that all of your marketing should be looked at in the framework of your buyer's journey. So think about the last time that you wanted to buy something. So let's just say you have a sore throat and you're like, I don't know what to do about this. My throat's not feeling quite right. So you would be at that point in the awareness stage. You don't know what it is. You don't know what you want to do about it. And you're going to go online and do some research. So you read an article you look on Google for, what causes a sore throat. You find a couple of potential explanations and you figure out, maybe go to the doctor, talk to the doctor, and you figure out that you actually have strep throat. So you can get medicine for that from the doctor, but you also might be looking for some other products for it. So when you're in the consideration stage, you might want to look for specific, cough drops or specific, or maybe even a provider. You might even be looking for a doctor who can help you figure this out. So at that point, you know kind of what it is, but you don't know what you want to do about it. And you'd go online to research the different options that, ways that you can solve that. And then once you're in the decision stage, you could be either, selecting a provider that's going to provide a prescription for you, or maybe just, buying some certain kind of cough drops or something like that. So think about everything that you do in terms of content and marketing campaigns, and even your business strategy in terms of, who are you addressing with whatever it is that you're doing at that point in time. Are you, trying to look for more traffic to your site maybe? Then you'd really be focused in the awareness stage. You'd want to be doing things like blogging and SEO. You'd want to be, maybe using social and doing some other things that would drive traffic to your site and help them understand that you exist. If you're doing things that are related to the consideration stage, what you really want to do at that point is take that cold traffic, people that didn't know who you were, and convert them. So you want to offer things like, tip sheets, maybe downloadable content of some sort, an ebook. You could offer maybe even an event like a webinar and help them better understand how you can help them solve that problem. And then once people get to the decision stage, that would be where you could be doing something like an online quiz or calculator that would help them really figure out, what you're doing that could help them solve that problem. You also could do webinars and events at this stage, but this would really be where you're trying to help them make the decision. You're trying to prove to them that you're the best option for them. This would be a great time to do a demo or a free trial if you make something like software. And just keep this in mind, keep this general framework in mind when you're putting together your strategy. And again, I won't get into this in too much detail because we talked about most of this, but same basic thing. Here you're trying to make people aware that you exist. Here you're trying to convince them that you're the best, or kind of give them more information about who you are and what you do. And then here you're trying to convince them that you're the best option. I think it's also important to point out that when you're thinking about a strategic plan and trying to figure out, how do I get more traffic? How do I get more leads? How do I, do whatever it is that my goal is? Keep in mind that it really should be a linear process. You need to kind of understand where you're at, what you've done, what marketing assets like content you have already that you could repurpose, and what your general goals are. You then need to define your audience and understand the unique buyer's journey that they're going through as they conduct that research online that we just talked about. And then finally, you want to kind of outline a marketing engine that makes it easy for you to attract, convert, and qualify those leads and nurture those leads through all of the tactics shown here. Keep in mind, this is where most people start. Most people start thinking, oh, we need more leads. I'm going to go blog tomorrow. We need more traffic. I think we should use social media more. Maybe we should do an event next week. Back it up, go back to the beginning, spend a little bit of time up front thinking about these important foundational questions and issues, and then put together that plan. And then finally, once you have that plan in place, you can get to the point where you're doing actual, more formal marketing campaigns, even if it's just one campaign a month. This month I'm going to focus on getting more demo requests. Well, who are you going to go after? What content do you have? What have you done in the past that you maybe could repurpose? What are your strategic goals for doing that? And then, who are you going to go after? Where are they at in the journey? And then what tactics will you use to do that? So keep this in mind when you're putting together your plan. We're running out of time here, so I'm going to make the rest of this fairly quick, but you will get this deck afterwards. Keep in mind that funnels and conversion paths are a huge part of leads. So when you are trying to get more leads, meaning you want to get someone's name, email address, phone number, so that you or sales can follow up with them, most funnels or conversion paths are generally going to fall into one of these 4 buckets. You're either trying to generate leads, you're trying to get new customers, you're trying to promote an event, or there's sometimes other funnels. And I don't think we have time to walk through all of these here today, but I've put kind of the top 5 or 6 funnels in here. And usually it's going to consist of some web pages, some forms, maybe some thank you pages, possibly some automated email series that will go out. So I'm going to skim through these fairly quickly to get to the end of our session here. And by the way, do set up a time with me if you'd like to ever, talk through what all of these are. These are fairly, a lot of information on the screen right now, but I'll include a link in the chat where you can schedule a 15-minute call with me for free to kind of explore this a little bit, even if you just need some free advice. Okay, and then finally, for the last 5 minutes or so here, I'm going to wrap it up with some specific recommendations that I have defined for 3 types of business. And again, I won't have time to walk through this entire slide here, but generally, if you're a local business, you want to start just like any other business and create your marketing personas. Definitely try to use real data from real users. You can get that from polls, surveys, basically just asking your customers. You can even do online usability testing, which is actually not as hard as it sounds, nor is it as expensive as it used to be. But you really want to define your best customer. Not every customer you can serve, not the one that makes up, 30% of your business or even maybe 80% of your business. We want to define your best customer. Usually that means the one that's the most lucrative, the one that will make you the most money. Sometimes it's the one that will make you the most money with the least amount of work. You really want to think hard about this. This doesn't mean that you can't market to other customers. It just means that you're going to focus on this particular group of people who represent your best customer, your dream customer. Local businesses can also focus on giving back to the community, as well as a number of other tactics that I've got shown here. Try to design at least one funnel or conversion path, and I've given you some examples here. Maybe it's a concerted effort to get people to join your mailing list. Maybe it's trying to promote some monthly specials or coupons. Maybe it's putting together some contests. Focus on one at a time. One per month is usually doable. If you're really stretched for time or busy, you could always do one per quarter until you get the hang of this, but you need to focus. Don't just think it's all going to come together later and you can just try different things. You need to have a concerted effort for your marketing campaign to have one specific conversion path in place. It can be maybe a landing page with a form and a thank you page and a thank you email. That's the most simple kind of conversion path, but there are quite a few others, as I've just shown on those other screens. I'm not going to walk through the rest of these except to say online reviews are huge for local businesses. Okay, so got pause for a second there. Online reviews are huge for local businesses. You want to make sure that your business has online reviews, positive reviews. If you don't have positive reviews, you want to work on getting those positive reviews as quickly as possible. People are going to look at your company and they're going to look at your competitor and they're going to go with the one that has more reviews, usually the one that has more positive reviews. But somebody else has 96 reviews and some of them are negative and you have 0 reviews, they will go with that other company. SEO, especially getting listed on Google with Google My Business, and some of the other SEO tactics shown here are also very important. And direct mail can be a good tactic for local. For B2B companies, some of the same things. I won't get into all of these. You obviously still want to do personas, but you should do more funnels and conversions usually for a B2B company. We usually recommend contact us and schedule a call. If you sell something like software, you could do a demo request. We have a lot of software clients. Demo requests are good for software clients. And then webinars are also a good one for B2B companies. I won't go through the rest of these, but again, focus on one marketing campaign per month. Doing more online events is also a good call for B2B companies right now, since most B2B businesses, a lot of their customers are working from home and, are more likely to attend online events now. For B2C companies, on the other hand, you do want to rely pretty heavily on blogging and social media. You also might want to look into influencer marketing, and Christina Coughlin from Get Hooked Media will be talking about that a little bit later today. Affiliate marketing can also be a good thing, and you do want to have some of those same funnels and conversion paths in place. That could be things like join your mailing list, promoting monthly specials, maybe doing some flash sales. All of these things are good for B2C, as are the other items listed here. So in terms of next steps, really it's going to depend on where you're at. If you're in survival mode, you need to take a step back, assess your current content and campaigns, what you've done in the past and what you've maybe not tried. Focus on high ROI investments. Note that I did not say stop investing. You may need to cut some things. That's just, kind of a smart thing to do during any economy, not just a down economy, but, obviously you don't want to pay for things that aren't giving you a good ROI. But at this point in time, you may still want to invest in some high return tactics. So look carefully at which ones are giving you that return. You also want to optimize your current conversion paths or funnels. Blog at least 1 or 2 times a week, more if you have time. Usually if you do more than 3 times a week, you're going to get better results. 1 or 2 is really just kind of getting your feet wet. So I highly encourage you to do more than that. Focus on action, and then focus on traffic and lead gen. If you are in maintenance mode, it's all about pivoting and adjusting. Optimize your funnels. Try more new things, especially online events. Experiment, and most importantly, analyze. So when you're experimenting, when you're trying all these new things, when you're pivoting, it's very important to keep your eyes on metrics. So how much did that new campaign move the needle? If you tried paid ads, a short test for 3 to 5 days, which is what we always recommend in the beginning, you want to look at those numbers. Did it result in any traffic, any leads, any conversions? You want to have a crystal clear picture of what's working and what's not, so you can double down on what is working. And then you also may want to focus on conversion funnels. If you are in growth mode, first of all, kudos to you. There are a lot of folks who are not in that mode right now. Hopefully everyone on this call can get there more quickly if you just kind of keep in mind the things that we're talking about today. If you're in growth mode, you may want to think about spending a lot more money because nobody else is. Your competitors may not be in growth mode right now. You could do things like adding large scale events, maybe a summit, maybe even a 3-day summit. But you also might want to think about doing more paid ads. And Nikki Coleman from Jumpfly will be on the summit later on today talking about paid ads. You also might want to try some new tactics, joint partnerships, and trying out automation, because sales and marketing automation is a huge, right now. It doesn't necessarily require a lot of effort, but it can pay big dividends. So I encourage anybody to try automation. It is a little bit more, I don't want to say it's an advanced technique because it's pretty easy to do, but if you don't have some of the foundational stuff in place yet that we talked about for the other 2 groups, you might not be ready for automation yet. But we can certainly help you with that if you don't want to do it yourselves. And that would be for any of these groups. Also in growth mode, you want to blog 5 or more times a week. And conversely, keep in mind, you don't have to be locked into these things I'm recommending. I will not be opposed at all if someone in survival mode wants to blog 5 or more times a week. If you have time to do that, by all means do it, and you will make faster progress. The reason I didn't put that there is because oftentimes folks in survival mode have bigger issues. It's not just that they're not working hard enough. It's not that they're not blogging hard enough. It's not that they're not, doing enough things. It's that they sometimes need to take a step back and look at your business as a whole and fix some other major flaws and issues. And then those things will run more smoothly. So by all means, if you have resources enough to blog 5 times a week, do it in any of these 3 groups. If you have resources to try some of the things that I'm mentioning for the growth group, by all means do it. But if you're in survival mode, that probably means your business may have been on shaky ground to begin with before all of this happened. So, you know, that's why we're kind of laying it out this way. And again, feel free to schedule a 15-minute call with me anytime, free of charge. I won't be selling you anything. I won't be trying to push our services on you. I truly do want to help people, and that's the reason we're doing this summit. Okay, so we're going to move over to QA now. You can jump on Facebook Live to monitor the chat questions that are coming in. Otherwise, you'll see the video here no matter where you're watching this. But looking forward to hearing your questions. Thanks.